Clan Sea Fox aims to be the leading broker of interstellar communications across the Inner Sphere, but the Hyperpulse Generator Network blackout has been a thorn in their side for far too long. To fix the network, the Sea Foxes enlist the skills of an elite watch operative codenamed Kitefin. Her first priority is to capture the one man with the knowledge to end the crisis and restore communication across the stars, Tucker Harwell, a genius who vanished amid the chaos of Terra's conquest. Before Agent Kitefin can take Tucker to Voidbreaker Station and begin the work of repairing the vast HPG comms network, she'll have to find him. Unfortunately, she's not the only one looking. Voidbreaker is a high-stakes spy thriller blended with the explosive military action of battletech from the award-winning author of Fox Tales, and without question, Brian Young. Get it January 24th, wherever battletech books are sold. You don't want to miss it.
There are three constants: cold, work, and the moan. The first is an ever-present danger. The second is our best weapon to fight it. And the third is proof our weapon is working. That the tools we have built to preserve the ice and snow are keeping them at bay. The world we did 10 years ago. The great frost descended and the cold never relent. There are no more seasons. No more. Things we took for granted in our old life, food, trees, comfort, are difficult to come by. It's a hard life, but it's the only one we have. We go forward, day after day, driven by the same words that spurred us on since we migrated north. The city must survive. Frostpunk, the award-winning video game from 11-Bit Studios, is becoming a tabletop role-playing game from Catalyst Game Labs, longtime publisher of Shadowrun and Battletech. This society-building game pushes players to consider what they will do to preserve the fragile communities that they have built. Take on a variety of roles, from medic to engineer to hunter to explore. See what you can do to build a society, confront crises, and overcome the dangers of the continual cold. The choices you will face will not be easy, but they cannot be avoided. What will you prioritize? What will you value? If you keep hope in your people and reduce discontent, you can build something that lasts. But if things go poorly, people will let you know. You could find society crumbling around you and perhaps be exiled into the cold with no hope of return to warmth. Using the new Dice Core role-playing system, the Frostpunk role-playing game offers an easy-to-learn, fast-moving system that puts your character's decision at the center of any session, and allows you to try and build and maintain a city that somehow manages to hold people together. Back now for your chance to play an entirely new kind of RPG.
Hello, everyone. It's possible. Yes. Oh, well, then I'll just start talking because that's very fun. Hello, I have taken over the airwaves. Rem can't speak.
I can speak now.
Oh, well,
Short-lived.
I enjoyed the power while I had it.
You had your moments to get away with whatever you wanted. I don't know why my Streamlabs has been resetting my mic every time, which is dumb. But I just said hello. So hello. I'm joined by Brent, and he was gonna kick his dog out, but we didn't have time, so dog voiceover might happen. That's all you missed. So hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for being here, Brent.
Of course.
Excited,
Thank you for having me.
Excited to chat with you here pretty soon. But first, the news. We got to do the news. All right, so Battletech, new releases. I'm going to go ahead and click on that master schedule that I love to click on. So February 5th, which is tomorrow, releases Map Pack Savannah, Inner Sphere Recon Lance Force Pack, Clan Cavalry Star Force Pack, Battlefield Support Battle and Fire Lances Force Pack, and the Battlemat City HPG Heliport. And then there's a second release date for February, so that's the 19th, which includes the Inner Sphere Security Lance Force Pack, House Davian Heavy Battle Lance Force Pack, and Sun Tzu's The Art of War, translated by Jamie Wolfe. So all of that will be coming to retail just in US and Canada as we wait for retail for fulfillment to finish for any of the Mercenaries product. Any non-Mercenaries product will still release on those dates, but if it's related to the Kickstarter, it will not. Shadowrun. It's February, so Augment, the new magazine for Shadowrun, is coming. We've been talking about that on stream the past couple of weeks. And World of Shadows just premiered last night, episode 1 of season 2. They were in Chicago, but got their mission. They're going to be going to Boston in 2076. So if you know, you know what they'll be expecting and not expecting and experiencing. It was really fun playing with a cast that doesn't know the lore super well so that I can still surprise them. It was a lot of fun. And then for RPGs, Frostpunk, I dropped that link in the chat during the commercial. Frostpunk is launching on March 20th alongside a campaign from 11-Bit Direct, which is going to do an art book for Frostpunk and a art book and fiction anthology, like short stories and novels and stuff like that from some pretty prolific Polish writers. And that'll be launching alongside our campaign for the TTRPG. So we're really excited to work with 11-Bit on that and get that going. And then Voltron, we are building out our pledge manager. We're doing some testing this week to make sure that everything's working. So as long as that goes smoothly, pledge manager should be launching end of this week or next. If we find some more glitches or anything like that, we'll need a little extra time. But watch the backer updates for how that's going. Board game division. Flippin' Ninja will be coming to retail in late March, we expect, based on depending on shipping times. It is on a boat, so it depends on when the boat gets here. So it might be April that it gets pushed to, but for now it's scheduled for March. We will have copies to demo at Gamma in Louisville, Kentucky, if you're going to be there. Looking forward to that. I haven't gotten to play it yet, so I'm kind of excited for that. And then Runefire. I've got a link to the Runefire Kickstarter that's going to be coming. We don't have a launch date just yet for it because we've got a couple other things that we're scheduling around as well that we have not yet announced. So you'll see that on socials, and I'll talk about it here as soon as we have a date. But we're pretty excited for Runefire. Just so you guys know, I know there were a couple of questions that I was going to look into answers for last week, but most of the crew is playtesting Runefire, working out any final kinks before it goes into public playtesting, semi-public playtesting, after this week. So the group is all together and away from computers, so I haven't been able to get a lot of those questions answered. But they'll be back. They're all flying back on Wednesday this week. Then Leviathans. A new video dropped, or is dropping for Leviathans. I need to check my stuff, but I don't want to click away from the stream. So it's either dropping this week. I know last week was the British unboxing, and I think this week, on a call earlier today, I heard that they're dropping the Italians unboxing, if they haven't already. So watch for that. Those vids have been doing real well. You guys seem to love getting that stuff from eStar. So as we get closer, if you missed last week, the Leviathans did make the ship by Chinese New Year. So yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I'm out of the loop for a week. Yeah, details I miss.
So Leviathans we are going to be starting to partner with, we're planning to use WebSphere, but the contract is not signed yet. So as soon as the contract is signed, we're going to start getting coordinated with them to get shipping estimates and get those into the pledge manager so that we can charge shipping, and then hopefully pretty soon after the merch hits all the hubs, we can start fulfillment pretty quickly, which is exciting. Also, so for the I need to write that down too. So Lauren has been issuing challenges each month for the Catalyst Prime folks to compete and try to get points to do something cool later this year. And the February challenge has been an issue. Let me talk about January real quick, because I wanted to level this up a little bit, because I'm competitive, and I wanted to take it to the next level where I'm clearly I'm the winner, right? I have that competitive streak. I don't know if you knew that about me, Brent.
I would expect nothing less.
So the January challenge was to play either a BattleTech game, a Shadowrun game, or a Catalyst board game. And if you did all three, you get bonus points. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do all three and level it up by involving the community. So I actually played a BattleTech game with the community. I played a Shadowrun game with the community, and we set up something in the Catalyst Discord for Seasons of Arcadia. So we played a few rounds of that too. So that was a lot of fun. So I want to do the same kind of thing for February's challenge, which is fiction. So we are challenged to read a short story, a novella, and a novel, and you get the bonus points if you cross lines with those three. So tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be live streaming here on the channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to have some special guests with me, and we're going to read through A Monster in the Sky live from Leviathans. Next week, we're going to do a Shadowrun novella, a BattleTech novella, and then I'm debating if we're going to do a full novel, because that's big, and I know it'll take a couple sessions, but I'm still debating that. We'll see. I might also do something more let's all read this and discuss it like a book club thing. I don't know.
Well, remember, there are also audiobooks of those novels. That's pretty easy to do other stuff while listening to an audiobook. Kind of two birds, one stone thing. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, but I want to involve the community as much as possible. So
let them buy the audiobook. I'm fine either way. Well, it's the same as the print book. There's no downside. You can go either way with it.
Fair. So, but my guess for this week, just so you guys know, I did get some of the, I posted in the freelancer chat in the Catalyst server that we have. So, let's see. I've got Mark Follin. I've got Aaron Cahall. I've got Eric Salzman. Wunji Lau. If he said that's if bedtime for the kids permits. Paul can't do it this time, but I said maybe next time. Let's see. and then James Kirtley as well so far. So I'll see if I can
Wow,
get
that's a good crew.
right. I'm gonna see if I can get more people, and we'll like change narrator and dialogue and stuff like that, and assign different parts and stuff. But we'll all just get on and chill, read some novels together. So
Oh, fun.
yeah, I'm pretty excited. So if you want to get all the deets on that, you can join our Discord server. It's in the description of all of our episodes. So check that out, and we'll be doing that for the next couple weeks. And then finally, I've got a little Friends of Catalyst thing here. So let me pull up my link for you guys. You'll see this in the Catalyst newsletter as well. We like to promote our friends and the cool stuff that they're doing. So our friends at Fanroll are going to be in February launching a Kickstarter for the Catan Masterpiece series. Yeah, I got to do a... Oops, wrong link. I got to do a... I gave feedback on their Kickstarter, so I got to review it before launch and stuff, and they've got so many different things that they're doing. So they've got, oh gosh, there's robbers in metal, sparkle resin, or gemstone. They've got the dice in sparkle resin, like the battletech dice, or they've also got wood. They've got the little boats, like actual little model boats for the 3-to-1 or the 2-to-1 trades. They've got frames for your Catan board that are wood.
Oh, interesting.
Or sparkle resin. They've got different tiles that are sparkle resin, painted wood that are really pretty, or gemstone. They've got the cities and settlements. They've got molded plastic that is, and they've got 4 to choose from that are like Greek and Aztec and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
And they've got those in metal, or you can get the standard cutout look of them, but in metal as well.
And the Greek ones would be really cool for the Wayfarers expansion.
Yeah. And then they've got the little tiles for the numbers and stuff that are in acrylic or in metal as well. So a ton of upgradable options, super customizable. Yeah. And so I've got a little link to that. So here's the other cool thing that they're doing. As I pull this link, because multitasking is hard. So what they're trying is, instead of doing as many of like the full like Facebook ads and stuff like that, they're trying to do an affiliate program with different partners, people in the industry, streamers, stuff like that. If you're interested, talk to me. I can hook you up with it. But basically, if you guys listening to this,
you all heard that Sarah's giving hookups. She's giving hookups to anybody that needs swag behind the scenes in gaming.
So if you just click that link I just dropped in chat, and you just hit follow the project, then Catalyst is going to make 50 cents for everyone that just follows the project.
Wow.
There'll be a different link once we launch, or once the Kickstarter launches. And if you follow that and decide you want to pledge, Catalyst will make 10% of your pledge amount, minus any add-ons that you do. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool inner industry and influencer way to kind of promote this and see how it does. And it helps everyone. It helps the person promoting. It helps, I know I've given this to a couple of my streamer friends and stuff like that they have their own link. So it directly helps us. I love anything that helps directly show marketing budget or marketing buy-in. Like if I can just say, then that's extra budget that we can spend on doing cool stuff. Like I want to tell all the
cool gaming is such a small town. Like it's nice to be able to work with your buddies in the industry and help each other out.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm pretty excited by all the stuff that we want to do with marketing and setting up that budget. What we did with Realmsmith for the Shadowrun series that we did, that would function like some of this. If we did sponsorship programs, like we sponsor the Six Sides channel. If we wanted to do more sponsorships, that's money that lets us do that. So click the link, follow the project. You don't have to back the project if you don't want. It still helps us. And then we'll promote once it goes live. And if it's something that you're interested in buying into, use our link. So, hi Brent.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. It's
good.
Tuesday. I'm happy to be here. And by
You
the
survived that super cold snap that the weather brought. I heard like the news was super bad, super breezy.
yeah, it's winter. I don't like it. But I'm pretty excited because you guys know I updated the overlay in the new year, and so I've been bringing on and like darkening the stuff around like what we're talking about. So if we were talking about Shadowrun, I'd only have the Shadowrun thing all bright. But having an art director that's impacted every single line that we have, I
Yes.
lit it all up. So it is all very busy and happy, and I'm excited. So, Brent,
Awesome.
you have some news
Hello, everybody.
to share with the community here.
I do. After 15 years at the helm, it is finally time to hand the reins off to the new generation. So yeah, like you guys remember about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I handed off all of the art direction for Shadowrun, the whole line of Shadowrun, to Ian King, and he's done an amazing job with it. And I was just focusing on BattleTech. And then as Catalyst continued to expand the licenses, the RPG division, the casual games and stuff, I ended up started bringing in some additional help. We brought in Marco Mazzoni. I started training him to kind of like take over the reins for art direction for dedicated BattleTech, and just started really focusing on all the other additional lines and stuff. And after 15 years, I realized I kind of creatively I'd achieved all of my unlocked objectives. I was ready for something new. So yeah, I actually was approached by an industry veteran. For those of you that have ever heard the name Brian Weissman, he's an absolute legend in Magic the Gathering and Grinding Gear Games. And he has a new video game startup, and he really wanted me to come over and work with his team to help get the visuals for their new startup off the ground. So I chose to make the change and hand over the reins. There's a new art director coming in for a third art director coming in to step in to take over all of the new licenses and RPG division and casual game stuff for Catalyst. And I've handed over the full keys to the castle to Marco and to Ian to handle their own lines and stuff. And I actually got to like completely take my hand off the wheel. And it's been a really interesting couple of weeks. People keep asking me like, how's it feel? And like you have your moments where like, it feels really good. And your moments were like, oh my gosh, it feels really bad. Cause like, this has been my baby for 15 years, but I'm kind of shifting into this overwhelmingly positive sense of I get to just be a fan again, which is so huge. I mean, I had kind of an amazing career before Catalyst where I got to pick and choose what I wanted. And that's when I realized like, you know what, I really only want to work on BattleTech and Shadowrun. And then they said, well, great. Well, then come work from BattleTech and Shadowrun. So they handed me the keys and I built it and I ran with it for a decade and a half. And it's been kind of awesome to like, once you get your dream job and you get to do all the things you wanted to do and take it to the places you thought it needed to go and train a whole new generation of people to take over that, to then just say, all right, keep going, go run. It's very nice.
Wow. I mean, it's a lot of, for 15 years out of the 40 for BattleTech and 35 for Shadowrun, like a lot of us know the direction of art and stuff like that. It is because of you. You know, it's you're at the helm leading the art that we recognize as BattleTech and Shadowrun among now like Leviathans and beyond. So it's, you know, Catalyst is facing a great loss. You're gonna be missed. I know the others are gonna do phenomenally well, and that you've got their backs and they've got the support that they need. But it's the end of an era.
It kind of is, but in a way, it's an end of an era. But my specialty was finding creative talent that was the right fit for the role and letting them play to their strengths. And my go-to goal was find people that are huge BattleTech and Shadowrun fans that grew up loving these games and became professional artists and ultimately said, man, I would love to work on one of these projects, and giving them a chance to do it, walking them through, here's the process, here's how we bring it to life. And so like, even though I'm leaving and it kind of is an end of an era, the truth is like, we probably have 70, 80 freelancers working all from around the world, from all the different corners, because, you know, both of these games have a totally global reach, and they're all still carrying on the torch and creating the visuals and bringing it to life. I mean, what's really amazing is when I took over both lines, they were black and white.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's how long I've been doing. Like how far, like, and trying to convince the powers that be that we should go to color, convincing them that of what we could, what we could do with characters. Like they shouldn't just be faces. We should do full body character shots. All those little elements and things that we did. This was also before 3D models. So Shadowrun doesn't make use of a lot of 3D assets, but BattleTech relies on 3D assets now. And that's been a massive game changer for the line. So there's been just like all these little elements that we did along the way that, like at the time, they were huge gambles. We're like, oh my gosh, this is inexpensive. Like it's like walking up to the blackjack table and just putting it all on black and spinning the wheel over and over and over. And thankfully more of those paid out than didn't. So so we did well. But there are many times where it was, Randall and I like, oh my gosh, is it gonna work? Let's look really confident when we talk to Lauren, but we're both like, oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't completely backfire on us. And I think it only backfired on us once. Really bad. But the rest of them were pretty good. Overall, we were right on the money.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So how do you think it's going to feel, I guess, and I know like you guys worked so far ahead in the pipeline and stuff that it's going to be a while, but like, what do you imagine it's going to feel like when you see a product drop that you were not part of? You didn't know was coming.
So strange.
Like, yeah.
So weird. Like, who did that? Where did that come from? Where's that from? I don't know. Like, yeah, I kind of think the biggest ones will be when you guys do like promotional reveals and you do your sneak peeks of the like from an image out of a product that's down the pipe, and that I don't see because like usually when you're in the creative team, you're working anywhere from 6 months to 18 months ahead of what actually comes out on store shelves.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of used to the disconnect, but man, it'll be weird once those promotion comes out. I'm like, actually don't know that piece of art. What's that? What paint scheme is that? What logo is that on there? What mercenary command is that one? So yeah,
what do you think is gonna win out emotionally? Do you think like you're gonna feel that pang of jealousy, like, oh, I wish I had been part of that, or do you think it's gonna be more like you said, as like a fan, like, ooh, what's in here?
Oh, I think it'll be both. Yeah, and I think it's okay to be both. Like when even Lauren, he's like, dude, your passion for these properties has been so so readily visible to everybody that's been attached to these. It's weird to imagine me not in it. And so like, I think it's okay. It's kind of like when your baby grows up and goes off to college and you're like, I still think of him as a little guy, even though he's like 22 now. Like you get both. I miss my little guy, but I'm really proud of this one. So I think it'll be both.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. So, I know, just for transparency's sake, I know there's not a whole lot you can talk about your new gig, because you want to go.
Yeah, it's just early. I want to make sure that everything for that comes out along with their marketing promotional campaigns and their calendars and stuff. So I'm not trying to release any spoilers or anything. But
sure, that's fair.
Yeah.
But if there's any secretiveness about what Brent is doing, that it's just NDA and making sure that the messaging comes out in the right order. And...
Yeah, there's no nefarious scheme. Let's pretend there's a nefarious scheme, but there's really no nefarious scheme.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Brent, question for you, I guess. Like, obviously, the name of Weissman and stuff like that is a tell, but I know with your history and your career and stuff, you've been pursued a lot over the years in terms of art direction and working with these other companies. What about this, or what about the timing, or what made this the right time for you?
Oh, that's actually a cool and interesting question. I'm going to have an answer. It's going to sound a little weird, but work with me on this one. So, for those of you that don't know, before I ever started drawing on BattleTech, I was a freelance illustrator. I've been a freelance illustrator for 17 years. I think I'd worked in 7 different industries. And I really had gotten, as an illustrator, to the point where I could pick and choose. If I didn't want to do it, I wasn't going to do it. And I had a number of clients come up to me and say, hey, how much do you charge to come work on something? And I got to my answer, like, I wasn't making the decision based on money. It wasn't about the money. It was about how cool is the project. And, I realized, and I'm not joking, I literally had someone come and they wanted me to illustrate a chair. And I'm like, okay, let's be really honest. I could spend 40 hours and give you the greatest illustration of a chair of all time. I could all the wood grain, all the shadows, all the nuances, the light motes, the dust motes floating through the light beams and all. Like I can give you an amazing image of a chair. Or I can sketch you out a chair in like a minute and a half that'll do 99% of what any other image of a chair is going to be. The truth is, why this chair? And you realize like, okay, you can polish anything. When you're a skilled illustrator, you can take something all the way down the rabbit hole. But is it worth actually spending the time to do that? And as a seasoned vet, you realize like, are you enjoying this creative process or are you not? And so the truth is, if I was doing the 40 hours of drawing a chair and I'd be getting paid by the hour and I would be hating every minute, I'd be like eating cookies out of a bag, just trying to get through it and white knuckling this because it's so boring. And so for me, my litmus test is like, when somebody offers me a new project, like if it's something I really want to do, the money's not the issue at all. Ignore the money. In fact, I've actually done a variety of jobs where I said, pay me $1. I'm a professional, I get paid. But it's not about the money for me. So for me, it was always like, what's the project? And yeah, I got chopped a lot of times where people were trying to recruit me, but the truth was usually their project wasn't, I mean, let's be honest, their project had to be more exciting than Battletech or Shadowrun.
Fair. Okay, that's
I was here for 15 years. I'm like, yeah,
nice
I'm like, that's a little yeah, exactly. So like, it really had to be a cool story. Well, honestly, like Brian's following the project now that we're working on is a passion project. He's actually kind of been developing for a couple of decades. It's kind of like one of his little dream projects. I'm like, okay, well, tell me some more about that. And once they told me, I'm like, you know what? That's a worthy vision. Let's jump on and let's bring that to life.
Cool.
And it's just one of those moments where you get those opportunities and you're like, I would be an idiot to say no to this. In fact, when I told Lauren and Randall, their first things that they said were, congratulations, we are so excited for you. This is going to be really, really cool. So
that's awesome.
And I didn't get to tell them all the details, but just enough so that they know, like, yeah, I'm not like jumping ship or anything because I want to jump ship. I'm like, it's just the new paths opened and this one looked really interesting.
Well, and because it's tough to kick the habit, you're not.
Oh yeah, it is.
You're not going far from Catalyst, from what I hear, right?
No, in fact, the nice thing is, I whenever there is a challenge, like part of my director style is if there is an issue, then I don't bring up, here's the problem without saying, and here's a couple of recommended solutions that I think could work. We may not take any of those, but at least it gets like,
yeah.
I never just say, here's an issue, I'm going to drop the bomb and leave the room. That's just not my management style. So like, as soon as I knew that they were shopping me and it actually was a pretty serious offer, I'm like, okay. So within a couple of hours, I had like kind of mapped out, here's how I would replace myself and put everything in place so that Catalyst will be successful. Because like Catalyst has been a passion of mine for a very long time. I love the company. I love the team. So mind went completely blank. What was the question again?
It was you're not going far from Catalyst.
Oh yes. So one of the things we realized is that I have been so integral to everything that all the processes creatively that we've built. Pulling me out of it is really weird. Like I touch everything at all the stages. Like how do you just yank that and not leave gaps? So Lauren was like, okay, you need to kind of leave me a list. And I said, in case you're interested, I would be willing to stay on board to some, minimal capacity just to ensure that certain things don't get dropped. And as a technical advisor, if nothing else. And so they actually really like the idea. So not only will I kind of stay on board in the background as kind of like a ghost in the machine, but one of the other things that I have done that has been remarkably successful for our game lines and the company was the line of map products for Battletech.
Ooh.
And I think I went through 25 people trying to find people that could design, develop maps, play test the maps, get them all ready to turn them over to the art, build the art team for that. Like that has been a massive project. And Randall brought up, he's like, dude, we can't reproduce that. There's nobody that does what Brent does on maps. Just because, and we've done, I think last count we're at like 75 maps. And you can't double up. You can't there's so much nuance to it that you really have to just go all the way down the rabbit hole. And there was simply nobody that ever had that combination of skills to pull it off.
Yeah.
So Randall specifically is like, I want to keep Brent just so that he can keep him in maps. Let him just continue to keep that line of maps going because we've had the line of maps crash a couple of times since we launched it.
Yeah.
And rebuilding it was a monstrous problem. I mean, like this is not an easy thing. So like, let's just keep that wheel rolling and not let that drop, and keep Brent on staff in a minor capacity, and so yeah, so I don't have to completely leave cold turkey or anything. I can still dabble.
Do you think now that you're not going to be so busy with all the art director obligations and stuff, are we going to see more illustrations from you in these lines?
That's a good question. I have thought about that. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Should I go there? I'm not ready to dive in yet, but I will admit the diabolical gears are spinning, and I'm starting to think, okay, well, if I was going to do one, what would I do? How would I do that? So
awesome.
I'm sure it'll happen at some point in time.
Cool.
And I'll surprise you all.
That's so exciting.
It is.
So I guess looking back then at your 15 years, what from each of the lines, what is like the product or project that you were most proud of? What do you define as your legacy?
You can't even just pick one, over that many. I mean, like for Shadowrun alone, I think I started at SR4. So we did SR4A, SR5, SR6. I'm like, oh man, like you just think about the scope of what we did across that time. It was amazing. I actually, when I would recruit people for Shadowrun, I would give them a warning. And I'm not joking. And in case anybody listening is wondering about this, I am absolutely dead serious. If you start illustrating Shadowrun, it's like cocaine. You will nothing else will ever be as fun as illustrating Shadowrun. Shadowrun is such a cool universe. There is so much just really awesome stuff there that as an artist, when you're given the free reins to play with all the pieces, it is so cool. So like when we did that SR5 cover, it is just one of the most epic. I mean, like you've got a runner team on a roof, they're attacking a corp, and they've got a bug spirit coming at them. And if you really look at that bug spirit, it's like 4 stories tall. It was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool that we got to bring that to life. I will never forget doing the Elven Blood cover. If anybody that looks at that and knows the Shadowrun universe and realizes that guy should be dead just for wearing that coat. There is no way this should have, like, every part of this, like, this is a death sentence in every way from Sunday, and there's got to be a story behind that, and I want to know what that story is. And that was the point. Like, we wanted our illustrations to make somebody say, I want to play that, I want to know what happened 30 seconds before this, and 30 seconds after this, because something's about to go down. Like, that's one of those things you get out of Shadowrun. So, yeah, it was really fun recruiting literally generations worth of artists to work on Shadowrun, just because there's no no universe like Shadowrun.
Yeah.
For BattleTech, man, there's been so many fun things, but I will say even Randall, and he'll totally back me up on this because we've talked about it. Quite often, like, we would get images, and back in the early days, it was like, yeah, we need a half-page image from you, Brent. We're going to do this and this with it. It'll just be, little. Don't worry about going too far on the details because you've got a really short deadline. So just go ahead and crank that out and get it across the finish line. Next thing I know, I'm walking into Gen Con, and here it is on a banner that's 14 feet tall. I'm like, okay, you said no zoom-ins. Come on, you're killing me here. So that was just one of those things. But there's been a couple of images that we've created that looked amazing when we did them, and then when we walked into the convention, we saw them on a banner where it was, bigger than we are. I won't say bigger than life because it's a battle mech, so it's like supposed to be 40 feet tall. But still, it's, you walk in, you're looking up at it, and you're like, even us, it stops us in our tracks. And there's a couple that just keep coming back. There's no way to get around them. That Marauder from the game of Armor Combat, the Red Duke Marauder. When you look at that, the detail, the lighting, the composition, the camera angle, it is just so amazing. So yeah, that image still, every time I see that, it just makes me smile. And I gotta say, like, for all of the amazing imagery that we've had in BattleTech over 40 years, Marco Mazzoni's 6-panel wide, it was 6 covers wide, one scene of the Eridani Light Horse. So you've seen it. It's that banner that we have at Gen Con above the player area.
Yeah. Where
we had to get special permission to have a banner that large put up because it blocked the airflow within the building for fire code. And the funny thing is, we cut 15 feet off that image. Yeah, so you're like, that is just, it is amazing. And like, there's those moments where, like, the artist will turn into things the images, and you realize I just keep zooming in, and they did it like 1200 DPI. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. But a lot of people don't know, like the first of the modern generation of maps we did for Shadowrun was Seattle.
Yeah.
The artist actually illustrated every building structure in Seattle. And the ones that were multiple floors, he did wireframes for the additional floors. That was originally, I think it was like a $500, $600 illustration that I did the commission for. He sent in his rough, and we realized he was working at 1200 DPI, and he went to that level. He got a honest to goodness satellite photo of Seattle and built it. And we're like, okay, for starters, I'm doubling what we're paying you for this, and I'm just going to let you run, because we have never seen anything like that. And that's just one of those things when you have passionate artists, a passionate creative team that have, like, they've grown up loving these properties. They bring that kind of just, you know, nuance of understanding all the details within the universe with them. That when you give them, like, you just, you know what, I'm gonna just unlimited, go run and go make, like, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen another game do anything like it, including video games. And they have all the stuff, the ability to zoom in that they can make use of. We couldn't. We just had a field day with it. So yeah, just fun stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hearing and seeing your excitement and enthusiasm for these lines, I hope to see you doing this for your new role. And
thank you.
Falling in love with it and having a blast. That's really cool.
Yeah, so far it's been a lot of fun, and they've clearly they've been really wanting an art director. Like they got to that point in their creative process, like, you know, we really can't do this without an art director, and that's when they realized they could go approach me. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Just in like the first. Today's my 4th day. And I've already had 2 meetings where people are like, wow, that's really awesome. Let's totally do that. Yeah, let's do that. Explore that. So yeah, it's nice to step into a creative team where I instantly get to have an impact.
Good.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. So before we switch over to Q&A, is there anything else you'd like to say about your time at Catalyst, your time on these lines?
You know what? The most magical thing, and I think anybody in any kind of a creative endeavor feels this same way, is that the biggest blessing in this whole adventure has been the fans. These game lines have the most incredible fan bases. Like, just story after story. Every year we go to conventions and we'd see fans, and we interact with them every year out. I will never forget showing up to Masters and Minions, and we put everything on the table, and the active duty serviceman in his gear comes and sets down. He was on a 4-day pass. He flew in from the Middle East. He was deployed. He took a 4-day pass and spent almost all of that time on like those military cargo planes to fly back to get to Indianapolis to play Masters and Minions. He was only in town for like 6 hours total. And then he flew, once our game was done, he flew back. I'm like, that kind of love from a fan base is amazing. And the support and stuff that they've always had. I love watching them argue about which thing is better, and I like this thing better, and let's go do, oh, they should have done that. Like that just shows such a wonderful, positive fan environment. And the fact that it spans the whole globe. So like, I will never forget having Detlef and the German player group show up at Gen Con and pull me aside to make sure that I was doing it right for battletech. Like moments like that are just awesome. You know, like the Irish and the Scottish teams coming over just to say, hey, we love what you're doing, and can we throw some dice on a game? Like, that is just amazing. And we find that over and over and over. So yeah, just getting to do what we did for the fans, and having such a great interaction and relationship with the fan base for all of the games. Catalyst has this knack of choosing and or building game lines that are just, they build amazing fan groups, and it's so fun. So yeah, the biggest thing across the board.
Awesome.
We have the best fans in the world. They're awesome.
Awesome. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you've done. Guys, if you have questions for Brent, put them in the chat, ping a moderator, and
hit me up.
They'll add
what do you guys want to know?
The first
the sky's the limit.
The first one I have for you, what are your favorites from your time as art director? Things you created, things you worked with other artists on realizing a vision, etc.
Ooh, what are my favorites? This is going to sound a little weird, but the thing that really comes to mind is when I spent 2.5 years wearing two hats, where I was the senior art director and the line developer for BattleTech. And what sticks out with that one is BattleTech had written itself into a corner. It had to get past a certain period of time within canon. And the writers and the developers did not know what that was. They did not know what was going to happen when they passed through this little crossroads. There was this thing we had to get through. And so my biggest success, I think, was actually getting the line past that point. So all of a sudden, boom, the sky's the limit. Now we have a universe we can go ahead and run with. We can write stories, created all this great content for people to play with and run with. And it kind of like, like the video games where it's a giant sandbox and, you're finally released. You're like, great, the reins are off. I can go run amok. I can go play in all these different corners. And there's good stories in all of those different corners. So yeah, I think that was, in hindsight, my biggest favorite. And just because it reinvigorated the universe and the fan base for what they could do with it in a way that nothing else I'd ever done had that kind of impact. It was miraculous.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
That was a big one.
Cool. Question from Michael Chandra. Any update on Shadowrun Takedown? All I know is that the shipment is leaving the manufacturers after Chinese New Year. And I've been told fulfillment should be no later than June. So that's all I know at this point.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. By the way, I think it's funny. I don't know if anybody else saw me laugh when you were giving your updates, but the fact that part of our process is it's on a boat. I just think that's hysterical. Yeah, it's on a boat. It's this nebulous zone, we know it exists, but we're not quite sure. Like, yeah, it's on a boat. So
I'd love if we could get far enough ahead in like our planning where it'd be like, yeah, it's gonna arrive in March or April, but that doesn't affect because it's like releasing in June kind of thing. Like, so that it was less nebulous for communication purposes. But...
Well, we used to think that we could, and then weird things happen. Like, oh yeah, the boat was diverted around South America, or oh, you know what? It turns out it didn't. The power went out while they were putting on the elevator, and then they all shut down for Chinese New Year because they were having rolling back. I'm like, just weird things. You're like, you know what? There's just, we think it should if it follows the model, but there's so many times like, oh, the truck broke down, so they left it by the side of the road in the middle of Kansas. You're like, what? 2 weeks later, you're like, it still hasn't shown up. No, it's still on the truck. Why didn't you unhook the thing from the truck and take it to that stuff happens. It's the weirdest thing. So
Murphy's Law.
There will always be a weird curveball.
Yeah, it's anything that can happen will happen. So
yeah.
Awesome. All right, what else do we got here? We have when will the Mercs box set be released to retail in the UK? That's going to be after EU fulfillment and their exclusivity period. So we won't know until they're officially done with EU fulfillment. But we will be posting.
No, there's an interesting follow-up question. I was thinking about this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were the retailer levels available to UK backers?
Yes.
Okay, so technically, people could pre-buy from their local brick and mortar stores if they had done that. Am I right?
So
they wouldn't be able to get the product, but they basically get to reserve it for when it was released if their local brick and mortars had ordered it as part of the retailer level.
So as part of the retailer level, so for UK, their stores that had ordered as part of the Kickstarter have gotten their product. So that's
have they been able to sell it though? I didn't think they were allowed to sell it yet.
They're allowed to, yeah. Because
are they?
They're in their exclusivity period for UK now.
Gotcha.
It's just that to be able to like release overall and stuff like that will be after the EU's exclusivity period when fulfillment is done.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. Oops. Will the fan roll dice be available outside of the Kickstarter? If yes, when and how? They will not be going to retail because that's just too many SKUs and everything else. They should be on the Catalyst store, but I'm supposed to make a meeting with Randall to look at our release schedule, because our release schedule is pretty much exclusive to distribution. So I want to get everything that's like the swag and the non for distro on there.
We have a lot of the littler stuff that doesn't ever go through distribution.
Yeah.
So.
But also, like Murphy's Law, anything that can happen will happen. And
oh yeah,
Randall was traveling, and then it was now he's in Puerto Rico, and then I had time with him, but then his he had a dental thing happen where he had a nerve thing and like couldn't.
Oh god, that was awful.
Out for like
he broke 2 molars.
Yeah, for like several weeks. So when I can get a hold of him, we'll be planning that and then get that on the release schedule, and then I'll be able to communicate that just like I do at the top of this episode for releases. What else do we have? Battletech carrying case is showing as out of stock or coming soon in Canadian stores and distributors. I'm not sure about the distributors. I'd have to let Ross know. So I can send him a quick message. The Battletech case, not avail in Canada distro, ? And then I'll apologize later for my shorthand. So I'm not sure, but I have sent it up the chain, so we'll see what comes of that. Let's see. VFXS status on the next run of Hinterlands. I think that's shipping, but I'm not sure if it's on the boat yet or not. Will it incorporate any of the errata, or is it straight reprint? It's straight reprint because it sold out as soon as it was released. So it was get it on order as soon as we possibly can. So
by the way, huge kudos to the fans that scooped that one up.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That sold out so fast that, everybody's like, okay, we broke all models with this, because that kind of product doesn't typically move super fast. And it scooped up so for we're like, wow, okay, so clearly I kind of expect this next one to sell out almost as fast. I think that we've got the line to a place where this kind of product is perfect, and there's a lot of people looking for something like it. So I imagine we'll probably do 3 or 4 print runs of it to do it. So, because, when there's a big success, it's not about, doubling down on what's paying you money. It's far more about, okay, clearly the fans want this, and we need to fulfill what the fans want.
Right.
Like, we need to get them enough to keep them going with playable items and scenarios and all the details and all that kind of stuff. So that's the primary goal.
I remember when we got the first questions about orders and stuff like that, and I was checking inventory and checking with PSI because I was like, is something wrong where it's not going
this
through?
can't be right. It says it's sold out, but that doesn't make any sense. What's really funny, literally we ordered the number. Catalyst has always claimed the goal behind the scenes has been to order, when we do a print run, 18 months worth of product. Catalyst thought they ordered 18 months worth of product when they did that.
We ordered a week.
No, I think it was the time it took to process the orders on basically on day one. And you're like, okay, clearly the scope on this one was way greater than we were expecting. So
that's awesome. Thanks for that.
That's insight. A good thing. Yeah. Way to go, fans. You did it. Keep it up.
Billy, this is one of the ones I think I was referring to when I said that everyone's kind of out and I haven't been able to get an answer. The mech salvage boxes. So the mercenary salvage boxes that have mechs in it. Is that something that we're honoring moving forward, doing the vehicle exchanges or something like that? Or was that just for Kickstarter? I don't know yet. I haven't been able to get that conversation going.
I do expect that there will be salvage boxes from the mercenary set moving forward as a regular thing. The sales on those have shown that there's definitely a sizable market for people that want the blind pulls on those individual boxes. And that's a good thing, because you can design all kinds of games and events and scenarios around it.
So that part they all love. It's that these mercenaries weren't supposed to have vehicles included, and about 6,000 boxes did have vehicles included.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah. So this was
I hadn't even heard that.
Yeah, this was a whole thing back in May that we dealt with. Gotcha. So for the Kickstarter, we sent every single backer an extra salvage box in case they got a vehicle. Nice. And then if they got multiple vehicles, they could let us know and stuff like that. But I don't know that that's going to be by design outside of the Kickstarter or not.
That's fair. That's fair.
Aster asks, any updates on the MUL? Not since we've had Josh on. I know we're getting closer and closer and closer. But we had Josh on a couple weeks ago. So if you look for the Josh Perrian interview, you'll be able to get all the details from the MUL on where we were last, as of a few weeks ago. Von Ether asks, where can we submit typos for Operation Ragnar for Leviathans? Tell you what, I'm going to send Bryn a message right now. He is also doing the Runefire playtesting, but at least I can get that conversation started since I don't have an answer right this second.
I do know that he is also paying attention to Leviathan stuff because he did ping on several of items over the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I know it's not off of his radar.
Where can folks submit typos for Levs?
You can CC Randall on that as well, just because they're both paying attention to all the things.
Beans. All right. Last minute questions that have popped up. We only have a couple minutes left, and I want to circle to Brent stuff since we have him. Jen Bixby asks, Hi,
Jen.
What is your favorite piece of art that someone else created?
You know, I actually got into BattleTech when MechWarrior 3 launched, the video game for MechWarrior 3. So it's 1997. And the starter mech that you get with that one is the Bushwhacker. So a couple of years ago when we brought on Wallach, I fished this guy out of the slush pile. I had never heard of him. He's actually from Colombia. And Jennifer, like I told you and James about him. And he's a diehard fan. In case anybody's wondering, no, BattleTech was not sold in Colombia. So he actually hand carved as an 11-year-old. He hand carved his minis out of wood, and then hand drew his own hex map so that he could play it. Because somehow he got his hands on the rules, and he was trying to convince all of his neighborhood friends to play BattleTech with him. And that's how far back he goes. So when I sent him a test image, he mentioned he loved the Bushwhacker. I'm like, okay, here's what I want you to do. So I sent him the specs on a test image, and he did it and turned it back to us. And I think it was the cover of Shrapnel about 7 issues ago. And so that actually was his test image to prove whether he could illustrate mechs or not.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, there's just something about that one I just thought was so sweet. It was so unexpectedly out of left field, but I just absolutely love it. It totally brings me back to that very beginning stages of when I was first exposed to BattleTech. I'm like, that looks really cool. What is that? I want to play that. And so yeah, that's that moment.
Awesome.
Hi, Jennifer. Say hi to James for me.
And then we've got, sorry, I clicked away to answer another question. Billy, question for Brent. Favorite redesign or update for a BattleTech mech?
Oh, it's hard not to say the Sentinel, because the original was so ugly and the new one is so cool. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with those redesigns. Anthony's team is doing an amazing job. What an incredible body of work they've built.
You answered that one a lot faster.
I'm sorry. I can soft shoot for a minute.
You're great. I gotcha. Jason Mallory, was there one Shadowrun character you always wanted to draw but never actually got the chance?
Yes, it was my character, the one that I was playing in a campaign. She is a troll with dwarfism who is African American, and she loves latex and S&M, and she loves bubblegum pink for all of her outfits. I'm like, what a wonderfully unusual, unique character. And she just had this one of those characters like Bette Midler. Like, you know that if she was in the room, you could not pay attention to this character because she was so interesting and cool and unique and fun, and just like made the lives of everyone more entertaining just by being around them. So there you go. Bubblegum. That's the answer.
And then just a last thing. This is the nicest thing I've ever heard from Big Red. I really wish I had a question, but instead I just have gratitude, and I think that
Thank you, buddy.
we all can
Aw.
feel for that. So thank you so much, Brent. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for being with us for 15 years and continuing to be with us behind the scenes.
It has been my pleasure and an absolute honor. Thank you all.
Awesome. And thank you guys for joining. We'll be back next week. I believe my guest next week is one Michael Stackpole. So
Ooh.
I'll have to double check that, but I know he's on the list for the next couple of weeks. So
Nice.
Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you, Brent. Good luck, and stay in touch.
You got it.